Hello, lovely listeners. This is Mary from Casing the Cover. And before you start listening to today's episode, I just wanted to give you a quick little bit of background on what you're about to hear. So this is actually an episode that Jenn and I recorded back in August at CoKoCon in Phoenix, Arizona. So what you're about to listen to is an abridged version of that live show. If you want to hear the whole episode, including some sort of preview of what we're going to be doing in the new year, some more of our audience Q&A, and some banter before and after the show, we are going to be uploading a video of the live show that we recorded at the same time that we recorded this podcast. That will be going up on our YouTube channel. If you search for Casing the Cover on YouTube, you will find it, and that should be going up by the end of the year. In the meantime, please listen to this episode. It's an abridged version. You'll still get to hear our book reviews and some of our Q&A with our audience. So, from both of us, we hope that you enjoy it. Happy listening. All right. Hello and welcome to Casing the Cover. This is our podcast. Yay! It's a monthly podcast where we talk about book covers, cover art, all the stupid things they put on books to make you want to read them, even if they're not that good. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Jenn?
Yes, we are next year going to do a lot more than once a month.
Yes, but for now it's just once a month.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's Mary and myself,
yes.
Jenn, and we do other things as well. Mary works at library, I work at library.
We are book people.
We are book people.
Which is what makes us an authority on nothing. But we look at a lot of books and we see a lot of weird books, and we felt the need to talk about them. And we've done some fun covers so far.
Yes, we've done some interesting covers so far. So if you were here at the last time that we did, which was at Leprechaun,
Mm-hmm.
We did our very first podcast, and it was our very first podcast totally, and it was our first live thing where we were feeding information into the ethernets.
And it was a bit of a mess.
And it was a bit of a mess, but we had a lot of fun with it. We're still having a lot of fun with it, and we're really good at doing our podcasts that are previously recorded now.
Yes.
In the privacy of not having people watch us, we're getting more and more used to having a live studio audience.
Yes. But if you get an inkling of enjoying us here, we do have plenty of episodes up on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube, and this will be going up too. So
and wherever you enjoy your podcasts.
So now that we've plugged ourselves, let's tell you a little bit about what it is that we're doing. So the idea of this podcast is that we prejudge books based on what's on the outside of them. So cover, back cover, author blurbs if there are any, reviews, things like that.
Font,
cover art, who the author is, if their name is bigger than the picture on the cover. Just kind of the things that obviously you see first when you look at a book, kind of to try to figure out what that book's about, if it'll be any good, and then we read it and kind of reflect on it. So we've each picked a book today.
Yes.
Jenn doesn't have hers. Hers is projected here.
Yes, because mine was ebook that I read. No, actually, no, I read this one as an actual
you just
book,
returned it too early.
But I returned it too early, and I read it too early.
But
this is the other thing, we get sometimes ahead of ourselves, or one of us gets ahead of ourselves in reading, and the other one is
waits until the last minute. But we both picked science fiction books this time
That's
around.
Supposed to give it away.
But it's a science fiction convention.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
But yours wasn't listed as science fiction.
It is though. It you can tell by the back. But we'll get to mine in a minute. Jenn gets to go first this week.
Okay.
So tell us about your book, Jenn.
All right. So I picked up The Little Shop of Found Things, and it is by Paula Brackston. I hope I'm pronouncing all of that right. It's not real difficult to pronounce, so I'm hoping I did. I looked at this cover, and it said to me, because it kind of has this...
Describe that
yes.
This is also an audio medium.
I know, I've got to do audio. I got to think about that I can point it to you guys, but anybody listening who is not here enjoying the spectacle that we are, the cover itself has the front, what looks like the front walk on like a main street, and an antique shop window, and it looks very, I think, kind of, you know,
small town.
Calm, small town, quaint. And the font is very quaint as well, because it's a serif font, but then it's kind of like got some flowy letters in there. And the whole thing I looked at and I said, this is a cozy mystery.
It looks like a cozy mystery.
I looked at this cover and it screamed to me cozy mystery.
A lot of mysteries happen in bookshops
right,
anyway.
Little bookshop.
It's a trope.
It's a tropey kind of cover. And I was totally sold on this being a cozy mystery. And it's filed under science fiction. And I was so confused that I had to read it.
Cover doesn't fit its genre.
The cover does not fit the genre at all. They're like, when you really see the cover up close, you can see there's kind of this sparkly-ness to the backdrop. So I guess you could kind of get that magic feeling from it, but I didn't get that at all from this cover. So I'm reading this book and I'm waiting for the science fiction part of it. And this is where we're going to go into one of the other things that is a pet peeve of Jen. We did an entire podcast on this. An entire episode based on why in science fiction is science fiction and fantasy.
There's been a kind of a movement to clump them together in a lot of ways.
It does a disservice to everyone.
It does.
Because I also would not put this in science fiction at all.
Would you put it in fantasy?
I would put it in fantasy. And it's sort of a other door. Somebody just tried to come through the door. Anyway, so live. So I would definitely put it in fantasy. The thing is, though, it does kind of have a mystery to it. So for our audiences, both audio and live, this is basically about a young girl. She's not really a girl. She's a young woman, and she moves with her mom to this small town, and they open an antique shop. Ta-da! And they call it the Little Shop of Found Things. Ta-da!
It looks like a bookstore, though.
It does look like a bookstore, but it says antiques on it.
But it looks like a bookstore.
It does. And her mom has a lot of medical problems. They kind of allude to a lot of that in the. This is part of a series too. I don't know that I will read the rest of it. I enjoyed the book, and I enjoyed the little story that it told. That basically she has this ability to touch objects and kind of sense where they're coming from and what their past is. So she solves the problems of, these characters. This is not a spoiler. This is the premise of the book.
I spoil things, so wait for me.
She spoiled things. I try not to.
The title fascinates me, so it's like...
Yes, no, it's okay. So as far as the writing style of it, you can tell that this is kind of I don't know that she is necessarily a new author or that she's new at this genre, but she definitely. I didn't get into the story, but she discovers that she can time travel. I won't tell you how, because that is a fun thing to find out.
Finding out that someone can time travel sounds like a spoiler, Jen.
No, this is like part of the premise of the book. She has to go back in
Well,
time and
you didn't read us the
problem.
back cover. Can you read us the back cover?
Yeah, let me find the back cover thing. I
made a lot of assumptions about my book on the back cover. So.
Yeah, I didn't even... No, because it doesn't even matter with this one.
Summary of it now?
Because with this one, I still was like so confused by what this book was about. Just, okay. So, she is the best-selling author of The Witch's Daughter. So you know that she kind of writes these kind of books. First book in continuing new series. An antique shop is haunted by a ghost, a silver treasure with an injustice in its story, an adventure to the past she'll never forget. See, I didn't give away.
There's too much going on.
Too much going on. The main character's name is Xanth. So I immediately was like, this is adorable, and I'm really not going to take this too seriously. The main character wears sundresses and combat boots. I'm like, I'm really not going to take you seriously.
She sounds like you.
No, she's not like me. Do not wear sundresses or combat boots.
You don't own a pair of combat boots.
I don't.
Look me in the eyes.
I
and
don't
tell me
own
you
a
don't
pair
own...
of combat boots.
Okay.
In fact, at this point, I don't think I own any boots.
You don't own pirate boots?
I don't own pirate boots. No, I have a pair of boots from
I
like,
win.
No, they're like hiking boots.
All right,
They're
fine.
not even combat boots. And these are like, she specifically says my Doc Martens. I'm like, okay, so yeah, you're like hippie goth chick. I get it. Okay, named Xanth. I'm not gonna take it seriously. But it is an interesting, it's a fun read. It's an interesting read. She goes back to 1605, and there's like this whole mystery that she has to solve to make sure that she makes this ghost chill out, essentially.
Does she travel in time by touching the things?
No.
That's a different thing.
Yes. This is a different power. But I can't tell you how she time travels because I'm betting it's going to be different in every single one.
Oh.
So I don't want to give that away because it might be kind of a cool thing that you discover as you read it. But yeah, again, the biggest thing that I got from this book was that it's lying to me. I thought it was a cozy mystery based on the cover. It definitely isn't science fiction because the way she time travels is magical time travel.
Magic time travel.
Magic time travel. It isn't scientific.
Time travel is one of those things kind of like zombies where it's one or the other depending on the origin of it.
Yes.
If you time travel in a machine, it's sci-fi. If you time travel because magic powers, it's
fantasy. And all of this should have been fantasy with like a fun little mystery to solve in it. Kind of.
It's kind of a genre bending kind of a story.
Yes, it probably would have been a really good teen fiction.
Yeah.
Like yours is teen fiction. It probably would have been a really good teen fiction because it bends a lot of the genre rules. And I think that if they took out some of the sweary bits, because there's a little bit of sweary bits,
they'd still put it in teen.
I think if they took a little bit of that out, it
Well,
would
you've got a young protagonist too, which could fit into YA.
She's kind of 20s, in her early 20s, and she's clearly like looking for a new boyfriend kind of thing. And
oh yeah.
there are a lot of love interests.
That sounds like a YA.
I lost track of how many love interests there were.
Oh, that's why it's not a YA, because in YA you can only have 2.
I'm pretty sure there's like 4.
Okay.
At least.
That's where you lose them.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I don't know, maybe that dude's a love interest too. I was very confused. And also, I don't like to read books that have like the whole love interest thing playing around. It's like, okay, either give me tension between 2 characters, that's cool, or don't do that at all. Because if you give me all this like, oh, this guy loves me and this guy loves me and I just can't choose, I can't. I just can't.
You don't read a lot of teen fiction, do you?
I don't read a lot of
That's all teen fiction is. That's all it is. There's 2 boys. I can't make up my mind.
I don't like that. I do really enjoy, like, I'm currently reading, It Came from the Woods. I did not bring that book with me, so I cannot talk about it yet, but I will talk about it in a future podcast.
Yeah, we'll put that
But one of the ones that I'm currently reading is there is like a tension between the 2 main characters, and that's cool. Like kind of a X-Files, Mulder and Scully kind of thing. You know, that's cool.
Is it like sexy tension?
Yes.
Okay, that's a whole different ballgame.
But it's not romance.
It's sexy tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Different.
That's cool because then
Is it a romance novel?
No, it's not a romance novel. And this one isn't a romance novel either. Or maybe it could be. I don't know.
Let me ask you a question about this book. Do you feel that it's you being confused about it? Is that because the cover is misleading? Is it because the book is misclassified by genre? Is it a combination of all the things?
It's all the things.
There's only one of those is the publisher's fault. The other one is the library's fault.
No, but the thing even says that it's like okay, brimming with charm and charisma, fans of Outlander will rejoice.
Oh.
So yeah, and that's from Woman's World magazine.
It's
so
because
like,
it's magic time travel, so it's the same as Outlander, right?
Right? No, it's not. And the writing isn't as good as Outlander.
I always find
it's fun. It was a fun read, but
I always find it really telling when books try to get someone to read them based on a different book. Like, this is not as good as that book that you like, but read it anyway.
Yeah, no.
It's kind of like it. Here, just buy it.
No, that's not fun. But yeah, this one, I will definitely say that read the first one. It was worth the read. I don't know that the next ones in the series will be worth the time.
Well, if you like the first one,
I did.
if you slogged through it, then they're not worth the time.
You remember me slogging through this one.
Yeah.
It was a couple months ago, but
you read books a lot faster than me, and you did not get through that one very quickly.
Oh my god, I have to get through this book. And then she's like, oh, but we don't have to talk about it until CoKoCon. I'm like, oh, I still gotta get through it though, because I gotta return it.
How long did it take you to read this book?
Oh my gosh, like 3 months.
Wow.
No, it did.
That's a long time for you.
It took 2 months. It took 2 months for me to read
So I
this
get
book.
books on audio. I listen to them one day.
I read 2 other
double
audiobooks.
speed
Or
it.
not audiobooks, ebooks. I read 2 other ebooks while trying to get through this book. So it was not top on my list. I always have, so this will be, and then we'll talk about your book.
I
So
can wait.
I typically will read an ebook, actual physical book, and then I will be prodding at some nonfiction thing, as well as writing my own stuff
can't
and
read
editing
nonfiction.
other things. So there's a lot of stuff going on in my reading list. And for this book to keep my attention, it really needed to do a lot more. But if you are more of I'll pretty much, I like a fun read, I want something that is I can get through it and enjoy it, and it's a fun story, it was that.
Well, okay, so we always try to decide whether or not the cover of a book is completely misleading. Do you said it looked like one of those cozy mysteries to you when you first picked it up, and you
Yes.
thought it was gonna be a mystery?
Yes.
But do you feel like it's true to itself in that the kind of person who would casually pick up a cozy mystery would pick up this kind of book?
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Do you think that the cover was made to appeal to people who read kind of casually?
I do think,
Because it looks like one of those kind of casual reading paperbacks.
yes. So then, in that case, putting it in science fiction was a cruel, cruel fate.
Because no one's gonna pick it up.
Nobody's gonna. People who read science fiction, specifically fantasy, are gonna pick this book up, read 2 chapters, and ditch it.
And the kind of people who would read it will never find it.
Right. The people that would love this book, who like cozy mysteries, who would enjoy it and just get a little gooey about it. Sure, she's got little romance things going on. They're gonna not see this book. So again, this goes back to don't judge a book by its cover,
Yeah.
and maybe don't judge a book by the genre that it's jammed in.
Mm-hmm.
Go down the other genre aisles. You will find
See
some
what else is
treasures
there.
in there.
A lot of stuff gets miscategorized, and you miss a lot of good stuff because you're like, well, I don't read romance, and then you pick it up and you're like, well, this has a sexy man on the cover. I'm gonna hate this, and it's a different kind of book entirely.
Or we're talking about hot magic.
Yeah, a little bit. I've been down that road picking up the sexy man mystery cover. It's our favorite, my favorite episode so far. And thinking, okay, this is gonna be one of those weird sex books, and I don't want to read this. And then it was like a sci-fi adventure story, and there was battles in it, and I was like, this is not in the right section.
But she writes other romance novels, and that's why
She does, yeah. She got stuck there because
Yeah.
that's what she writes.
So again, browse the other aisles, because this book and others that we have found have been put in the wrong genre.
Or they're categorized because they think that someone will pick it up if it's in this genre, but it's missing other markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So play in the genre land.
If you learn anything from us, pick up random books and read them anyway, even if it takes you 3 months.
That's what we do, mostly because they have sexy men or birds on the cover. Apparently,
We've
that's
read a
my
lot
thing.
of books with animals on the cover. It's a weird thing we've done so far,
All right.
including this one. Let's segue. All
Look
right.
at segue.
So my book is called Wolf by Wolf. It's by Ryan Graudin. It's the woman. Her name is Ryan.
Oh.
Which is also one of the things that kind of threw me off a little bit because I didn't realize it was a female author until I read her review of her own book on Goodreads. We'll get to that. So this book is the first YA book we've done for the podcast. And
Is it?
Yes, we haven't done YA yet.
Oh.
Which is weird because I read a lot of YA. And I feel like every time I do a book, I'm like, I don't read this genre. I read YA because I'm a sucker for cute little romances and, killing Hitler. Which is what this book is about.
Yes. So I want you to talk about the cover, and then I'm going to tell them what I thought this was when I found it for you.
Yeah, it's not that. So Wolf by Wolf. So the cover is this. The backdrop is a map of what I assume is Europe. Wolf by Wolf is this very big, blocky, reddish print.
It's Nazi font.
It's Nazi font.
Okay, somebody raise your hand. This is Nazi font, right?
It looks like
Every
Nazi.
time there's
Yeah.
something about Germany or Nazis, it's in this font.
Yeah.
See?
Uh-huh. And she is on the cover. You kind of see her from above, from a helicopter shot, riding what I thought initially was a bike. It's a motorcycle, but I thought it was a bike. Because it has, bike tracks, I don't think motorcycles leave tracks like that.
Yeah, they do.
Really?
Motorcycles leave
Looks
tracks.
like bike tracks. I don't know. I thought it was a bike. And she's like wearing a bike helmet. I thought it was a bike. And her shadow is a wolf.
It's a motorcycle helmet.
What? Shut up. But so her shadow is a wolf. And after reading a book about a man who turns into a badger, no, he turns into a bear. The girl turns into a badger. Let me read you the summary because this is what I based my entire idea of this book on.
Wait, can I?
What? Okay, what did you think it was?
Can I do my what I thought it was first?
Yes.
Okay, so it's Arya riding her bicycle across Europe, killing Nazis.
Yeah, okay. That's what you think.
That's what I thought it was.
That's what you think this book is about. So right on the front it says, "Win the race, kill Hitler, or die trying." That's its little blurb on the front. And here's the summary of the book. So her story begins on a train. In the year 1956, the Axis powers of the Third Reich and Imperial Japan rule. To commemorate their great victory, they host the Axis Tour, an annual motorcycle race across their conjoined continents. The prize, an audience with the very highly reclusive Adolf Hitler at the Victor's Ball in Tokyo. Yale, a former death camp prisoner, has witnessed too much suffering, and the 5 wolves tattooed on her arm are a constant reminder of the loved one she lost. The resistance has given Yale one goal: win the race and kill Hitler. A survivor of a painful human experimentation, Yale has the power to skin shift and must complete her mission by impersonating last year's only female racer, Adele Wolf. This deception becomes more difficult when Felix, Adele's twin brother, and Luca, her former love interest, enter the race and watch Yale's every move. But as Yale grows closer to the other competitors, can she be as ruthless as she needs to be to avoid discovery and stay true to her mission? So,
It's not that.
I thought she was going to turn into a wolf. Her shadow is a wolf. She's a skin shifter. That's all I wanted from this book. I didn't get that. I spoiled my book. Sorry, I'm going to spoil this book. So I wanted to address something about this. Something I saw in here. But yeah. I lost my train of thought. No! Yeah, I thought she was going to turn into a skin shifter. I will say, so here's the thing about YA and why I like to read YA. YA doesn't separate itself into genres other than this is a YA book. So it has a lot of freedom and as far as kind of twisting genres. So even here, like in the description, it's a race, but also it's alternate history, but also we're gonna kill Hitler, and also there's sci-fi, and also there's a love triangle because of course there is. Like there's 2 boys' names. It's a love triangle, and it's a vague love triangle. You actually read the book, but it's trying.
Although it's a little disconcerting with the love triangle thing because one of them is the skin shift version of hers twin brother. So are we going Game of Thrones on this?
No, they're not quite. So she just catches feels for both of them.
She catches
yeah.
Can you just say that again?
She catches feels for both of them. So yeah, all I wanted from this book was for her to turn into a wolf and, I don't know, maul Hitler's face off. I don't know. She doesn't turn into a wolf. She doesn't even she skin shifts once aside from her main pretending to be someone else. And that was really disappointing. Also, in a world with skin shifters, can you predict how this book ends?
No. But don't spoil it.
Yeah.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't
Does anyone not want me to spoil this book?
Don't spoil it.
Okay,
No, because
fine.
the audio audience. He's not going to read it, but don't worry about it.
But okay. So the ending's really predictable. Just so you're aware, the ending's really predictable. But I kind of going into this, I expected a love triangle because it's a YA.
Right.
And there's not like a blatant love triangle. Like one guy's into her because he thinks she's his ex. And she kind of, like I said, catches the feels for him. But then she goes on this big bike race. She's the only German competitor. There's also a Japanese competitor. So this is set in a world where the Axis powers won World War II, but then they got rid of Mussolini because they wanted that part of the world too. So it's just it's Hitler and Japan, and then everyone else is screwed, and they celebrate this by having a big bike race across Europe and Asia. So it's Germans competing against the Japanese, and she's one of 2 female competitors. So they all want to get rid of her because she's pretending to be this woman who won a year before. And that character gets 2 lines of dialogue, doesn't appear for the rest of the book. No one cares about her.
Yeah, wait, did she kill her?
No, they kidnap her, and you don't hear anything about it the rest of the book. Oh. I'm spoiling things, so get ready. I spoil lots. I can't help it. Just words come out. So she starts the brother's very concerned about her because he thinks she's his sister. And she kind of lets him in a little early on, like, hey, dude, I'm trying to kill Hitler. You're going to help me out because you're my brother, right? And so he goes along with it, but she also kind of has feelings for him. So it's like the inklings of a love triangle. Apparently there's a sequel. Like you, I won't be reading it. Apparently it's not as good according to Goodreads. The only good review I saw on Goodreads of the sequel was the one by the author. She reviewed her own book on Goodreads and was like, I wrote this book and I really like it. And everyone else was like, it's not as good as the first one. There's like an unnecessary death in it. There's no tension in it. Because this one, the tension is, will she win the race? Will she win the race? Will she win the race? And when it gets towards the end, it's like, will she finish her mission? And I did get really tense. But then, you know, it ends really terribly and you won't let me tell you how.
No, not.
Tell us how.
Tell us how.
No,
I'll tell you how.
no,
I'll tell you
no.
how.
Don't do it.
Black ears. So
Block your ears, everybody who's listening.
who's listening? Skip this part. No.
Spoiler in 3, 2, 1. Okay.
So it's a doppelganger of Hitler that she kills.
I
Of
knew
course it
that.
is. She thinks she's the only shapeshifter, and of course she isn't, and she kills him, and of course it's not really Hitler.
Of course we knew that.
And like so, like the end of the book, I was like, and like I saw it coming, but I didn't want them to take that cheap shot, and they did because she wanted to set up for a sequel, and I was really mad. That's probably the reason why I won't read the second book because apparently there's like no tension in the second book. Like they're just like, okay, so the fun of the race. There's no like, will they, won't they? Like there's none of that in the second book. Huh? What did I tell you? Because
Okay.
you told me to tell you.
Spoiler done.
Maybe. And yeah, she doesn't. So the wolf thing. Let's talk about the wolf thing. So there's 2 alternate covers to this book. Sometimes I like to talk about alternate covers because they tell us different things. That's okay. I'll talk about them.
Okay.
So there's one that looks exactly like the regular cover, only the whole thing is red. Like the background is red. You don't see the map, and like the lettering is white. So it's white Nazi font. Actually, I think the font is the Wispy font that the author's name is.
That's an awful font.
It doesn't have the Nazi font on the alternate cover. So that one doesn't really tell me anything else. The other alternate cover, which I think is for the audiobook or the ebook, it's just like this red-toned image of a blonde-haired girl with goggles on her head. And in the back, you see like a stadium of people with the Nazi flags. So that's a cover that tells me this is about a girl fighting the Nazis. This book tells me this is about a girl on a bike who turns into a wolf. This does not tell me what this book is about.
So only one out of the 3 covers.
Only one out of 3
Not
covers.
lying to
I
you.
felt this book so misled me because this is a book about a girl who's a werewolf. That's what this book is. That's what this cover is. Especially when you tell me, the first thing you tell me is she's a shapeshifter. The wolf thing comes up in like 5 other ways that have nothing to do with her turning into a
Right,
wolf.
it's the character's last name.
It's the person she's impersonating. It's her last name. She has tattoos of wolves on her arm for each of the people that she lost in like throughout the years or whatever. She thinks she's a Valkyrie because when she joins the resistance, she misunderstands what Valkyrie means because they're talking about Valkyrie, which is an actual like plan to kill Hitler.
Uh-huh.
And she overhears them talking about it. She looks it up and she knows they're like warrior women who ride wolves. So she's like, I'm a Valkyrie. And then she finds out later what Valkyrie actually is. And she's like, oh, I'm a Valkyrie anyway. So that's wolf. And then also when she escapes the Nazi death camps, there's like wolves in the woods. So there's like there's too many wolves in this book. And none of them are her. And that was really disappointing.
So it really is basically Arya fighting.
It is.
Nazis.
It
See,
is.
I was right.
It is kind
I
of
was
Arya
right.
fighting Nazis, stealing other people's faces, fighting Nazis.
Stealing other people's faces.
So, and I will say, like, my biggest, like, the book was fine. Like I said, it was tense. The characters were good. There were some really cool, like, not set pieces because it's not a movie, but like scenes of danger. Like, there's a part where they're trapped in the desert. She's trying to get through the desert on a little motorbike, and that was really cool. There's a part where she almost gets caught. But my biggest problem with this book, and I don't know if it's just because it's YA, but part of me thinks no, it's probably not either, is they kind of downplay how bad Nazis are, which I didn't like at all. So literally, like, all the people that she's lost as a result of World War II and being in the Nazi internment camps, like, died of natural causes. Like, this old woman that she's, like, friends with just dies. And, oh, I'm mad at the Nazis because she died. And then her mom, like, dies of fever. And, like, everyone else dies off screen. She directly causes more death in this book than any of the Nazi characters. She literally just up and stabs someone else. But, like, none of the Nazis, like, directly kill anybody in this book. And this was more of a criticism of the audiobook reader than the book itself. When I was listening to the audiobook, the narrator, Hitler appears like 3 times in the whole book because they watch him on television or whatever.
Right.
She gave him like this high-pitched chipmunk voice. It's like, hello, like it was really high, and like it's really hard. Like her ultimate goal is to kill Hitler. He's the worst, and of course he was. I'm like not like denying that, obviously. But the way that he comes across in this book is like just this weird figurehead who like never directly causes any kind of problem and has a weird chipmunk voice. So it was.
This is not
That
a
took me
villain.
out of the book just a little. So like I appreciate of this book, like I said, what I like about YA, which is that it kind of is able to mesh all the weird things together.
Which is pretty much how teenager brain works.
Which is how teenager brain works, and of course there's kind of a love story because there has to be, and there's a little bit of murder, less murder than in some other YAs over the years.
Yeah.
Like this book's kind of low on the murder.
Kind of low on murder.
Yeah, for like, if you compare this to like, Hunger Games or one of those, like there's barely any murder in this book. Not enough murder. More murder. No, I'm just kidding.
We need more murder.
We don't need more murder. But like, if you think about the fact that within YA we have books like The Book Thief and like Boy in the Striped Pajamas, like this is not a representation of what World War II was like. Don't read this book. Once I know it's alt history, but the book starts in an internment camp. And like I said, everyone just kind of dies of natural causes in the internment camp. Whoops. Yeah, so I had some criticisms of this book. I have criticisms of every book I
She
read.
does. She's very good at criticism.
I'm very critical. Should we open up to if anyone wants to
Yes.
talk to us or ask us anything?
Yes.
Yes.
What about covers that give away a major point in the book?
I don't think we've encountered one of those yet.
We haven't encountered one of
Okay,
those.
I can't remember the name.
But I
of it,
want to.
Years ago, it was an Andre Norton book.
Oh, yeah.
Someone write that down for me.
And I'll have to try to.
We'll track it down.
I'll see if I can find it. But it's like the cover had this picture on it, and it was like, and I started reading, and it was like, okay, I know right now
That's
that
the
this
whole
is going
plot.
that this is going to happen.
Well, do you know what the genre was of it? Like what kind of book it was?
Andre Norton, she's science fiction.
Science
Yeah.
fiction. Okay.
Yeah. She doesn't read science fiction.
I do read science fiction.
You read fantasy.
I read YA. Yes.
I just remember a series of 5 books, probably long before your time.
That's okay.
But anyway, it was, Clark had the idea, and it was done for him by a fellow named Price. But the interesting thing is, the first book has pretty much an illustration of the girl heroine as she's described in the book. For each one of the next 4 books, her bust gets. I think that might have been a reaction to not selling enough.
So who's buying the books? Let's get them in a little more.
Get bigger and bigger boobs.
We have to do a whole episode on that, and we will.
We're gonna do a whole episode on boobs. Great.
Well, and sexy covers in general, like the fact that you have to sell a piece of literature on how sexy the illustration on the front of it is
But
baffles me sometimes.
Okay, you go find the ones with all the big boobs. I'm gonna find the ones with all the good abs on the guys.
Yeah, well, and that's just the thing is it's kind of
that'll be a thing.
it's obviously not just a thing that's to appeal to men because obviously they do that. Oh, look, busty women read this book. The ones for women are the exact same. It's like, look at these abs, read this book.
And now
I can't see the abs in the book. Yeah, none of them have heads.
oh,
I don't know. I don't know
if
if you've witnessed this. If you walk down, just next time you're in a bookstore, just walk down Romance Aisle just for the hell of it. All the men with abs don't have faces. It's the picture is from here down, and that's it. You can see the abs, you can see the V, nothing else.
Yes, the V.
Yeah, the V. The V is important.
The V is
But
important.
it's like women complain about being objectified, and then our literature just has you don't even have a face.
That's because when these like desperate housewives are reading the books, they're totally like putting that in front of their husband's body.
Imagine your man looks like this.
That's what that's for.
Both of our husbands are in the audience.
It's okay. I'm not gonna lie
They
to
know.
you.
They know.
Yeah, Spice commercial.
No, he had a face.
Yeah.
The Old Spice guy had a face.
Although, can we talk a little bit too about when we talk about the bodies of these men that are on the covers? There's been a trend that's happened from like probably 90s, mid 90s, the guys being very, very hirsute.
They're
hairy, and now they're kind of stubbly.
Well, yeah, they're bare-chested now. There's no fuzz.
No, they're stubbly.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's gross. It's
I haven't
not okay.
encountered that.
Whoever thought that was a good idea, like, hair guy is okay. Guy with like waxed abs, also totally okay.
Well,
but this stubbly thing, like he's got a 5 o'clock shadow on his abs, is weird.
the person that decided that was okay was the person who makes the stock imagery that all these little publishing houses use. This is something we discovered when we were doing Hot and Badgered.
Yes.
On the back of the book, this is the other thing, when you look at the cover of a book and you look at all the little things written on the inside cover of a book, you find out lots of fun things.
Oh, yes.
The model on the cover was a stock image.
He doesn't know.
This man doesn't know what he's on. He doesn't know that this is what he's selling. Because he's just a picture that they just bought offline. So it's like, yeah, we're selling like sexy people who turn into badgers with your body on it, and you have no idea. Because it's not an illustration, it's a stock photo. And you get, especially these smaller publishing houses and stuff, it's a money thing versus whether you want to pay for an illustrator or you want to pay someone to take a bunch of stock photos and cobble them together. Mm-hmm. And some of the weirder covers we found that are more cobbled together they're all very small publishers.
Yes.
Unless they're a James Patterson novel. In which case it's just like, here's his name, stock image.
Yes. And stock image that totally, okay, I don't know if anybody has seen one of Patterson's newer books, The Chef.
I'm going to do that one. That's on my list.
Oh my gosh. The cover looks like Gordon Ramsay.
It's Gordon Ramsay's shadow with James Patterson written on it. He's
Gordon
got his arms
Ramsay.
folded. He's got the little jacket on, and like you can't see the face, much like a sexy man cover. You can't see his head. It's like the bottom of his chin, and it's like all dark, and he's got his arms folded, and it looks like the Kitchen Nightmares logo where he crosses his arms.
Yes.
And I'm like, you're trying to sell this book on James Patterson and Gordon Ramsay. What the heck?
And I'm pretty sure Gordon Ramsay does not know he's on that cover.
I'm gonna do that book. That's on my list. I'm doing it.
Okay.
And I'll report back. I've never read a Patterson novel. I've never watched a Patterson movie. I am clean slate.
Wait. There's Patterson movies?
Yeah. All of the Alex Cross things are all Patterson.
I didn't know that.
Plus they made Zoo into a miniseries.
I don't know about these things.
Patterson has movies.
I don't watch.
And TV shows.
I know he has all the money.
All of it.
And all the lies. Oh, she found
That's the cover.
That's the cover.
Flight.
You said this gives away the whole book.
And that gives away a main point.
You take a picture of it. I don't have my phone.
Okay. Take a picture of it. I gotta disconnect my
Is
phone.
it that it looks like a ferryman?
A ferryman, and we mean that as he's got wings.
Yeah, he's got wings. He's got butterfly wings. He looks like an alien with wings, but also they're tiny. Does she shrink in this book? Is it a really big leaf?
Is it a really?
I'm interested now.
Oh yeah. There you go. Thank you so much.
But you're introduced to the main character and you're going, I already know what's going to happen.
It's just from the cover.
Mm-hmm.
The cover in the beginning of the book.
Wow.
That's a giveaway. Yeah, I don't think we've encountered one yet where like the entire plot is on the cover.
Is Fat Bob dead yet? No. I'm kidding.
No, that didn't have anything to do with the plot. It just had to do with like that other.
That
part.
was a major plot point though in a weird way. Oh, and then there was the point where the cover doesn't have anything to do.
Oh,
with the
we've
plot.
had a few of those.
Because again, with Is Fat Bob Dead Yet? This is like my favorite book
So
that
fun.
we've done. That we've done. Not my favorite book of all time. Just my favorite book that we've done. One of the alternate covers on Is Fat Bob Dead Yet is just a single rose on the cover, and it has everything and nothing to do with the storyline. That single rose appears one time. They never go into the details of it. They never go into anything, and then it's just done. It doesn't mean anything, but it was important enough to put on one of the alternate covers.
Well, see, we have encountered a couple of things where like they pick one arbitrary thing in the book to make the cover because it's like the most appealing image they can come up with from the book.
Like The Chemist.
Like the, oh my God, The Chemist.
You ever been annoyed by a book where somebody made an annoying mistake in drawing?
Like,
oh yes,
What I'm
like
thinking
bad.
of, cover girl on a motorbike moving, her cat's sitting behind her. Well, the cat's whiskers are blown back.
not the
his
first.
ears are blown back, and his tail is neatly curled around his toes.
That's not how cats work.
By the way, it's a Carol Nelson.
I don't know that we covered some of those so far.
I don't know, well, except for the Smoking Beagle. I'm just going to keep going back to that.
I'd say most of the books we've read so far have been fairly modern books. So a lot of the cover art, there's a lot more photography, I think, in a lot of the covers that we've been doing. Again, stock art, but also or that kind of realistic imagery where it looks like it's a photograph. Again, because I think that's cheaper in a lot of ways for them to do on some of these. So, you take a photograph of a cat on a motorcycle. It's going to look like a cat on a motorcycle because it's an actual thing happening.
If you take a picture of a cat on a motorcycle, you let me know how that went. Because I have cats and not a single one of them would be down for that.
But, yeah, so...
I'll be like...
I think there's less realistic illustration on covers now. Even when you get illustration, it's like this, where it's very conceptual. And there's just little elements of it so it's kind of hard to pick stuff out like that because the illustration, when you have an illustrated cover, they're very minimal.
It's when they're way out there, like the black unicorn. And there's a
white unicorn. That's when the cover artist didn't read the title of the book, or they changed it and went, we're not paying for another one. Yes.
Or I've seen somewhere you're talking about the buff guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I love Jane Castle. I mean, she writes these wonderful fantasy science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jane Ann Krentz, but it's her maiden name, but it's her pseudonym for writing futuristic stories. And so it talks about, now if you're reading the book, you're saying, yeah, there's a lot of these guys that dress with this, the leather and all the straps. But the main guy character doesn't dress like that. But the guy on the cover does.
Oh yeah,
that's
that
your
happens
Hot
a
Badger
lot.
guy.
Yeah, the guy on Hot and Badgered the cover model looked nothing like the character in the book. And I think is the most dishonest thing you can do on a cover, because that sets your reader's expectation for the whole book. When you pick up a book and you open the book and it's the man on the cover is this blonde kind of skinny guy with perfect abs that are completely hairless, and you open the book and this guy's 7 feet tall and covered in hair and has a beard and has an accent. And I'm this is not the same person.
I like that other guy.
Of course, that one also threw me off because the book was called Hot and Badgered, so you thought, oh, this man's a oh no, he's a bear. The girl's a badger. Oh, why is he on the book? But they do that. That's the thing that happens a lot. Where even this, if you can see the image, you can barely see the image of this girl, but you can tell she's a long-haired brunette, right?
Yes.
Yeah. She's a blonde because it's Nazi Germany and they're all blondes. And on the alternate cover, she is blonde. So even within two covers for the same book, one had an accurate representation of the character, the other just was whatever. It's fine. It's fine. And that does happen a lot, where what your either your title character is, or what the book is representing, or the title or whatever, and the cover art do not mesh.
Yeah.
And I think we do talk about cover art a lot compared to other things, but cover art is the first thing you see.
Yeah. That's what sells you on the book. So can you judge a book by its cover, basically?
Sometimes.
So we are going to get kicked out of this room.
Oh, it's time for us to go?
So,
we got 8 minutes to wrap up.
Yeah, but we got to actually wrap up because we're going to
close the move. We can
publish
do it.
this whole thing as a podcast.
Not tonight, we're not.
No, but well, yeah, you are, because you're magical.
Not tonight, we're not.
Mary publishes old podcasts too. She's good at it. She edits things.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while to edit.
She
But
makes
anyway,
me sound a lot smarter than I am.
Is there any final thoughts, Miss Jen?
Just would like to say again, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
To all of you who showed up and hung out with us, and hopefully were amused by us. We're very amused.
Give you something to do at 9 o'clock at night,
right? Yes. And we have bookmarks that have all our social media stuff on it, and please check us out. We love it when people. She loves it when she.
I like it
people
when I see.
show up on
I see that one person from Finland who's somehow listening to the podcast. Phoenix, Finland. Okay.
So we're internationally recognized.
We are by that one person. Thank you all so much for being here and listening to us prattle on for an hour. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Hello, it is Mary from the future again. Just coming back after that episode to thank you for listening and to remind you that you can find us on all of our social media. We are at Casing the Cover on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and the podcast is now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and newly Stitcher. So feel free to find us on all those places. We would love a comment, a like, a review. Those all help us build Casing the Cover. And lastly, thank you so much for listening. We love you all. Bye!